Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, December 6th at about 8 a.m. It's a nice 70 degrees out here. I don't know if you can see on camera, but it is foggy. There's a little bit of blue sky back there. It's foggy this morning. There's a nice breeze. It feels pretty good. I've got Murdoch out here on his slow morning stroll. Or do you want to say hi? Oh, good morning. I got him to actually look at the camera. That's rare. Last night I was having a little bit of trouble connecting my camera's Wi-Fi to my phone to download my footage. So it ended up being a fairly late editing night for me. I had to do a factory reset on this little DJI Action 4, which luckily it didn't delete the footage that's on the SD card. And I got it working. I had recorded as a backup. I put my outro on my iPhone, and I will say this camera works so much better than the iPhone footage I had. It would have looked bad, and the sound was the big thing. The sound was not good on that. This has a feature that kind of deadens the sound of wind on this camera, so when it's a little bit breezy, you don't hear that muffling sound. Today is a walk the Riverwalk and go to work day. As you could see in my opening footage, the farmers market's getting set up. They come and start setting that up at about 4 a.m. and it is right outside my window. So occasionally you'll hear them like laying stuff against the brick wall and it kind of clanging and banging around, but it didn't wake me up this morning. I slept good. I was up at 6:30 in the morning, a little early. But yeah, let's get this day started. So this last week, I've really locked in on my diet and I've been eating really clean. I've come to terms with the idea that I have a sugar addiction. I love myself some sweet treats, and I'm having to treat it like I treated drinking at this point, where you just have to quit at all. And I've been trying that this week, and I will say not having sugar and processed foods, a lot of other things, but the sugar being cut out, I've really noticed my energy levels are so much higher, even after the gym, even after all my walking. And I've noticed my belly shrinking down a little bit just in a few days. So it's amazing how much sugar, carbs, processed food like bloats you up. So that's another thing I'm working on for New Year's, is get my diet locked in over these next few months, especially before my road trip. Being in a small space like my RAV4 on my little bed that's like, I don't know, I think it's 17 inches wide. You don't want to be big and fat and bloated on that. So cutting down a little bit before that trip is going to be a lot more comfortable. As far as the sugary stuff goes, I'm really trying to stick with this. I heard a personal trainer talking about it recently, and it's a all or nothing method. He equated it to being addicted to drugs. He said like, oh, you wouldn't just do drugs once a week. You know, that's not going to help your addiction. And that kind of hit with me about sugary stuff, cookies, cakes, stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, it's an addictive food. And if I'm doing it once a week, it's not going to help me kick that habit. So I'm really trying to be like, no, just no more. Like, just like drinking. For me, I've been sober for over 2 years now. I just said, no more, I'm done, and quit, and haven't went back, and it's been great. So I'm gonna try that with sugar. Little side note, I always wanna record myself and do some talking on camera down here at the downtown end of the Riverwalk, because it's a really cool view. But literally every time I come down here, there's a homeless person sleeping on these benches behind me, and there is one down there a little ways, but I don't want to like stand here and record myself in front of homeless people all the time while they're trying to sleep or whatever, picking their feet, whatever gross stuff they're doing out here. Don't get me wrong, I feel bad for them, they're homeless, but they're always down at this end of the Riverwalk. So little option to talk to the camera out here with a pretty view behind me. Ooh, cool. That's that fog out there that I was talking about this morning. It looks really cool. It's not as dense as stuff that I'd see in the Pacific Northwest, but it's foggy out for Florida. I like it. If you've watched a few of my videos, you might have noticed I do a little dance in my videos, just a real quick one. And you might be saying, why does he do that stupid little dance all the time? The reason is to get myself over the fear of doing cringy things on camera. I feel like it makes me better at recording myself if I can have a little laugh, even if it's just myself. I do it in just about every video. I think I've nailed every single one except maybe the very first video I did on here, but that's why. I'm about to wrap up my walk with Murdoch, and then I'm gonna head out on the Riverwalk and get my much quicker walk in for the morning. I think the sun's gonna start burning through all that fog here momentarily. All right, I'm out on the Riverwalk. There's a little bit of sun poking through those clouds up there. I wanted to clarify when I'm talking sugars that I'm talking processed sugars. I eat skyr. I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's like a thick Greek yogurt. I think it's like Nordic or something like that. It's got somewhat of a bitter taste, but it's low calorie, it's high protein. I get the unflavored, unsweetened ones, but I add organic frozen mixed berries into it and let it sit for the whole day in the fridge, and that kind of sweetens it up a little bit. You know, berries, fruit, and stuff like that, it's important for antioxidants, so I'm not cutting that out when it comes to sugar. I'm just cutting out the processed white sugar. I also sometimes I'll add a little bit of honey to the skyr just because it is rough to get down if it's not sweetened slightly. But as far as my diet goes, it mostly consists of a vegetarian diet. I do eggs, I do dairy, I do beans, I do tofu, I do leafy greens, things like that to try to cut out as many processed foods as I can. I feel like that really helps with energy levels, activity levels, and just how you feel in general, how I sleep at night. I sleep excellent. As long as I don't do too much caffeine, that can be a problem. So it is just after 10 a.m. It's starting to warm up out here on the Riverwalk. So I'm gonna get these last steps in, do my loop, see where I end up before I gotta head to work. So it looks like I'm finishing up my loop on the Riverwalk here in just a moment. I've noticed a crazy habit that I get into really bad is every time I pick up this camera to record, I wipe the lens off with my shirt. It's a good thing to do. That's how my videos don't look like I'm in a dream or it's like all foggy all the time. But I had a lady back on the Riverwalk that wanted me to take a photo of her so she could show her friends that she was in Florida. And I noticed even when I pick up other people's phones, I instantly wipe the camera lens off with my shirt, which to me is a really weird thing. If I was having someone take a photo of me and they wiped it off, I'd be like, oh, that was weird. So, odd habit that I've formed that's very obsessive, I guess. I had some customers last night that I was telling about my YouTube, and I was explaining to them, you know, I don't have hardly any subscribers. I don't get really any views, but it just reminded me of the whole point of these YouTube vlogs that I'm doing is even if nobody watches them, how awesome would it be to look back in 20 years and be like, oh man, I was so young back then. And just give me some good memories. Even though it's mostly just me walking and talking, I do have my adventure videos that I post pretty often. So, I don't know, just made me feel good again about what I'm doing. I'm leaving my little bit of a legacy online, a little bit of my personality online. I'm happy about that. I love vlogging. It's a good thing. right, I had a busy day at the tattoo shop today. As I showed you, I got a big giant flower tattoo as a walk-in. It turned out really cool. I think it covered up some scars. It was a little bit of a challenge to get her to hold still. Those scars can be a little bit extra sensitive. Overall vibes of the day, very good day, high energy. I got a lot of exercise, got a lot of things done. That's all I got for you today. Until next time, have a good one.